strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it is in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Beth Williams is an investment advisor representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corp., a registered investment advisor. Megan Carney, Megan S. Carney PLLC, and Financial Arc Builders are not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corp.
Welcome to Money Healing. I'm your co-host, Beth Williams.
And I'm your other co-host, Megan Carney. We're here to talk about money and our feelings related to it. I'm a psychologist who specializes in helping sensitive people.
And I'm a financial planner. We both talk to everyday people just like you about these topics.
Everyone's mental health and money health journeys are so different, and as unique as we all are, there are some common themes when it comes to how our emotions impact our money and vice versa.
And it's those common themes that we are going to be discussing together, both the themes themselves and some ideas from us about how to move forward and heal your relationship with money.
Welcome back to Money Healing with me, Megan Carney. I'm a psychologist, and Beth. Today, I'm going to be asking Beth some questions because we're really needing to get into transparency and trust when it comes to money, because that is a big issue when you are trusting somebody else with your money. I know it's an issue that I've had. Honestly, I don't know anybody who's not been concerned about it. So I've got some questions for Beth that are going to shed some light on what this industry even is so that we can all maybe have a little bit more faith in it. But first, why do people not seem to trust you or to trust what you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the big problems with the financial industry itself is that it's just so big and broad, and it's really hard to define what a financial advisor is. When Megan and I started talking about this, I was thinking back, and really there's been a lot of changes within the financial industry, and being a financial advisor, if that sounds vague, might be because it's just changed so much, and there's a lot of different pieces that are not necessarily what your parents had or what your grandparents had, and there's a lot of new regulations and that kind of thing. So if you think back 100 years ago, one of the things that a lot of us had financially, I'm generally speaking big picture, we had a pension. And the pension we worked towards, and once it got to a certain age or we got to a certain level or whatever, then the pension just paid for us, right? And that became our paycheck. And then pension started to go away, and now we have like 401k type accounts or IRAs, and there's a lot of different things that we didn't necessarily talk about 100 years ago. And that's probably been because of the fact that we're all living so much longer. And, it used to be, for instance, that life expectancy at birth in 1930 was only 58 years old for men, and it was 62 for women, and retirement age was 65. So even just for Social Security, you were only on Social Security for a couple of years, maybe. And
Can I
now
pause you right there? So I'm having a moment of oh, this is part of why there's this concern that we're running out of Social Security money and all of that. I'm thinking about my own grandparents. I have two grandparents that are still alive, and one, he had a pension, right? And he's in his 80s now. And surely they did not expect that when they planned that out forever ago.
But yeah, now you have people that are on Social Security for 30 years. And so that's changed a lot. But really for those 401k type accounts, those IRA accounts, again, generally speaking, 100 years ago, we didn't really talk about those. And really what kind of happened was we took the pension where some person was managing that money for you and all of that stuff, just like Social Security. Now we've kind of turned it over to now it's your responsibility to kind of create your own pension in a way. Financial advising, it used to be, you had your insurance guy, you had your broker, you had, and they were totally different people. And
Mhm.
now it's like one person, who does all of these different things. And that's, I think, why it's just so confusing and why it's just so hard to understand what we do. And there's lots of different ways to, study. But, a financial advisor, atypically, again, I'm broad based here. Most of us are entrepreneurs. We are small business owners. And so when you start thinking, I want to be a financial advisor, I want to talk to people about financial advice, you do what you do with basic business planning. You go, who's my customer? What do I want to talk to them about? Am I somebody that can understand amortization schedules better than the next person? And is this someone who you just want to talk to corporations about their money, or is it that you want to talk to high net worth individuals? Do you want to talk to single moms? And so we really, when you decide that you want to get into financial advice, you really have to think, what are my strong suits? Who's my customer? Who do I want to work with? And then from there, that goes into what kind of licensing and what kind of studies do I need to go into. So for a financial planner to do that, it's big, broad base. There's lots of different licenses. There's lots of different courses that you can take. And it goes into really focusing on the planning element, not necessarily amortization schedules, And so because it depends on who your customer is.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you point out all of these different customers, because I think for a lot of people, unless you grew up with money, there's this assumption that you don't work with a financial planner unless you're rich, whatever rich means to you. And like, I didn't really work at all with one until I was employed. And then it was just like the person that they bring in every year for the whole company, and everybody gets to talk to him. And I'm like, how do I trust this dude? I don't know what he does. I don't understand it. I don't know if he has my best interests in mind, the company's best interests in mind, or his own best interests in mind. Do you
Yeah, and
find
I
that
think
that happens to you? Like, people don't think they can work with you?
all the time. It really is, again, if you're going to be a financial advisor, you're probably a small business owner. And so whoever my clientele is, whoever my ideal client is, isn't going to be the next person's. And I've had clients come to me and they're like, waiting for me to say, and I can't work with you unless you have X dollar amount. And they've heard that before. They've heard financial advisors say, I can't work with you unless you have X amount of dollars in investable assets. And I mean, that's not the way that I do business. Again, we're all small business owners. We're just about as broad and as different therapists or different attorneys. We're all working with different types of people. And like anyone, for a small business owner, I have to determine, what is my time worth? And I kind of have to back into those numbers. And, I know my costs of continuing education and licensing and all of those different things that I need to have. And when I back into then also how much do I want to make, that's usually why the financial advisor will say, I can't really work with you unless you've got X dollar amounts.
It's so interesting to hear you say, like, we just want to help, because I don't think that most people who aren't in the financial industry think of you all that way. Right? They think,
Right.
oh, they work with money. Money is what matters most to them.
I will also say, if you take economics, in college or whatever, economics 101, if you remember this, is people respond to incentives. And so for me, at least, when I understand, I'm a big econ nerd, but if I'm looking at where an industry is getting paid, how do I get paid? How does this person get paid? Then it helps me to understand what their incentive is. There's basically three different ways that we can get paid. as a financial advisor. The first is a commission. So most of those would be like an insurance, you buy a life insurance policy and there's a commission that's paid. And those get paid out, and that's the only time that you get paid, and so that's a commission. And then there's fee for service kind of things. And so that would be where I'm brought in on a consulting gig where we have to figure out what's the best settlement for a divorce case, or maybe we're trying to figure out how to just build a budget. And so there's lots of different ways that we just get paid for a service. And so that would be like an hourly rate, or it would just be a flat fee. I'm too lazy to count my time, so I usually just do flat fee myself. But anyways, we go through and we can get paid that way as well. And then there's assets under management is one of the other things that you'll hear, and that's AUM. We love acronyms in our industry too. So AUM, assets under management, and that would be where you've got a certain dollar amount to invest. And there's a fee that you pay to the financial advisor to manage those assets.
That brings up this idea for me about like finding the right match. It's true across many professions, mine included, right? I know how to find therapists, right? We go to a therapist directory, we go to Google, or we ask people we trust. That's pretty much our options. How do you find a financial advisor who is a good match for you, who your goals match what they're really able to do and do well?
Yeah, I love that question too. I think if I was going to give one general piece of advice, just one big, how do you know that it's a good fit is a question that I get asked a lot. And if I was just going to give one big broad stroke, I would say that it's somebody that you can go to who listens and challenges you to think about it in a different way. The reason that I mention that is because for me and who I am, my mentors, the people that I look to for advice, the people that I call when I'm stumped, they're people who will listen to me, and then they will also go, but Beth, did you think about it this way? Or maybe you don't know the full story, or maybe you should really understand more about the logistics of whatever's going on, or the mechanics of whatever is going on. And again, that's big, broad strokes, but I would say it's somebody that listens, and then somebody that's also going to go, hey, maybe you're not quite understanding how that tool works. And let's try to unpack that. A lot of financial advisors that I look to as mentors myself, they're people that want to educate and they want to teach you about the financial tool. Even if you never do business with them, they are really big into just education. And that's a lot of my focus too, is really just that education. But I would say, yeah, big, broad strokes, that's what I would say. It's somebody that's going to listen to you and somebody that's also going to challenge you to think about it in a different way. But I do think for me, if I was going to go give anybody advice about trying to find a financial advisor, I am a big advocate for going to multiple advisors and learn about their processes, learn about what they focus on, learn about their personalities and what they're interested in, hear their stories, and shop around, because what's a fit for you might not be the first person that you talk to, and that's okay. And so I would go in just saying, ask a lot of questions, go to a lot of different people, find whoever's the right fit based on your own personal criteria.
So is there a directory for financial advisors? Is it you Google? Is it you ask friends? How do we find people like you?
Yeah, great question. I would say if you're starting to look for somebody and you've defined what it is that you're looking for, what your expectations are, I would first start asking people that you trust. Who do you go to for financial advice? And I would start asking anybody that you really can, and just open up that conversation. And once you get, 3 or 4 of them, a number that you're comfortable with, then just start scheduling time to go with them and bring your specific list of questions. I don't recommend, just going to Google and saying top 10 questions to ask a financial advisor, because those might not apply to your situation at all. But I would really dig into that.
Yeah, and I'm hearing what you're saying is go in and tell them, like, this is where I am. I know I need help. I don't know what help I need. I'm coming to you because you're the expert. And maybe get that from a few different people and see what feels like the best fit for you. One of the things that I'm thinking of right now is how when you're working with a financial advisor, that is a relationship. When you're working with your healthcare provider, that is a relationship. When you're working with a therapist, that is a relationship. And if we're not feeling safe enough, if we're not able to communicate with them, then that is not the right person to be helping you. Well, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Money Healing. We hope you enjoy our next episode where, surprise, surprise, we're going to be talking about money and values. What is your money really for?